I just stuck a bull. This bull has been sounding gnarly, nasty. On my right, there's two bulls fighting. I can see them going, their bodies moving back and forth between the trees. And then all of a sudden I hear this. There's another bull right there. Walking through those aspens.
I shot him. You didn't hear that?
No. We both just shot the same bull.
I shot him first.
He shot him first. Oh my gosh. What a heck of a pursuit, dude. All freaking day.
When your buddy calls you, says you got a buck down. And what does he got? A buck down.
Look what I found.
What a sweet coos, man. Opening day, heck yeah. Way to go, Steve.
Arizona Archery Club is a premier partner with Bowhunting AZ. When it comes to attention to detail and a fiery passion, Arizona Archery Club brings it all to the table. With all the latest bows and archery equipment, you can demo every single model in person free of charge in their multiple demo rooms. Walk through the process with an experienced bow tech and see which bow is right for you without the sales pressure. Their indoor archery range offers air-conditioned lanes where you can shoot out to 40 yards. Take this awesome opportunity to hone in your accuracy and technique. When you visit, be sure to mention that you're a listener to the Bowhunting AZ podcast. Let's all support local. National Automotive Repair is a locally owned and operated auto repair shop in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona. Jake McLaughlin and his team operate their business with a foundation of honesty, quality, and integrity. From routine oil changes to larger mechanical repairs, National Automotive can solve your issues and have you back in operation. The shop is located right off of I-17 and Thunderbird off Sweetwater Avenue, or call Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 at 602-978-3278. Real estate agents, are you looking to make your listing stand out? Arizona Listing Media has been transforming real estate listings since 2013 with their 5-star Google-rated services. Arizona Listing Media offers stunning photography, captivating drone footage, immersive 3D tours, and engaging video reels to showcase your properties at their very best. Are you ready to elevate your marketing game? Visit ArizonaListingMedia.com and book your session today. Let's make your next listing unforgettable.
And we are back for part 2 of Days in the Wild, hunting and marketing adventures in Africa. This is Bowhunting AZ with me, Jake from State Farm. Hey. And we have the one and only, the great, the mighty Steven. How you doing, man?
What's up, buddy?
What do you think?
You got, channeling your Bruce Buffer there?
Yeah.
I like it.
Over in the red corner.
Now live fighting out of Surprise, Arizona.
Well, I had to try and top the other opening act that we had. So yeah, man, welcome back, guys. Thanks for listening. Today we are going to be talking a little bit more about this awesome experience, this hunt that Steven was able to endure in Africa. All right. And please, if you guys have any other questions that we might not have been able to go over already, or what we're going to be going over today as well, please, shoot us some DMs, you know what I mean?
Slide into our DMs.
Slide into them DMs, you know what I mean? But please give us some answers or questions that we might be looking for with answers. But also, yeah, if you have any questions that you're looking for, maybe we can answer them, or we can ask some other people that do know the true answer for it. So, yeah, thank you for listening, and let's dive into this thing. So
Let's do it.
So, previously we talked about this hunting trip that you did in Africa. If you weren't listening before, Steven had this trip where he was able to go to Africa, and he did some marketing for a company. And during his trip out there, he was able to actually go out and hunt and be successful on some of these hunts here. Leading into this, I mean, what do you expect, or what's the ideal time length of wanting to go out to Africa to endure and enjoy all the wonderful experiences that it has to offer, right? I mean, there's got to be more to Africa than just the hunting, right? So the environment, the culture, to indulge all these experiences. How much time would be?
If you can make it for the 10 days, I really suggest you go for the 10 days.
Okay.
10 days was counting also travel.
Okay.
So you're going to burn, 20 hours or so going there and 20 hours or so coming back,
Yeah.
So calculating all that into, if you could do a full 10-day trip, especially if you think this is probably the only trip you're going to make. If you're able to, you're like, oh, I'm definitely going to go to Africa 2 or 3 times in my life.
When you're done with it, you're probably going to be like, oh,
yeah. Then, oh yeah. And, then, 5-day trip is, fine. If you're going to go back multiple times.
Or maybe if it's your second time coming back, maybe 5 is enough, right?
Yeah. You're probably, if you do it, I don't want to say if you do it right, but if you do it the first time and you really save and you've got, if I'm going to throw out a budget out there too, say, hey, this might be the only time I ever get to go. I'm going to go to 10 days. I'm going to save a good amount of money.
Right.
I would say go for 10 days and have 10 grand out the door.
Okay.
All right. And you're going to shoot a lot of animals. A lot of animals for that amount of money. And that's counting your lodging. That's counting the animal fees. That's counting the guide tips. That's counting your airfare.
Yeah.
Out the door, $10,000 is going to get you a boatload. You're going to shoot probably 3 or 4 animals, for that amount of money.
You're going to enjoy the time.
You're going to stay in a really nice place. You're going to tip your guide good. I think the rand, which is what they use, is like 18-1 for the US dollar.
Okay.
So you're going to live like a baller while you're there.
Yeah. But 18 grand is a lot of money too.
10 grand. 10 grand.
Or 10 grand, sorry.
18 grand is a lot of money.
18 grand is a lot of money.
For 18 grand, you can shoot a hell of a lot of stuff.
18 grand, you're living large, right?
Yeah.
You're tipping them guys real good.
But to be fair, yeah, you could probably do a $5,000 to $7,000 trip too if you're going for like 3 to 5 days. And you only shoot, an Impala and something else.
Right.
You're not going to shoot a kudu, or something like that. But,
right.
Yeah.
But you might get the typical Africa, what is it? The typical 3. So is it like the warthog, the zebra, and the Impala, right?
Yep.
Those are the big typical 3 that they have there.
Yeah, I think a zebra was like, I don't know. I'm probably wrong on this, but say 700 to 1,000 maybe, and then an Impala is like 300 to 400, and a warthog's about the same as an Impala.
I've heard zebra is one of the best tasting meat.
That's what everybody there said too. All the guys are like, it is delicious. And I'm like, what? That's weird.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm open to it. I'll try it.
Right.
But they all say it's very sweet. They said like a soy sauce marinade sweetness to it. Yeah.
To me, coos deer kind of have that sweetness to them already.
I agree. Yeah.
Not like a soy sauce, but like a sweetness to them almost. Yeah. It's
maybe
very
soy
unique.
sauce wasn't the right thing to use, but just
Like
some sort of general
teriyaki
sweetness.
type thing.
Yeah, teriyaki. Yeah.
A little natural honey.
Yeah.
That's cool. So like you said, so it just depends on if you've been there before, obviously.
Yep.
I would think, at that point then hearing it, maybe try and save up for that initial trip. For the 10 grand for the 10 days, to experience, in that.
That got me the full Africa experience. That was a couple days of just general sightseeing, like a non-hunting safari.
Exactly.
Some tourism in there.
Yeah.
Some goof around time, stuff like it was a very if I'm going to do something like that and I'm going to go over there, I really don't want to be rushed through it. And so that was I feel like I went over there and I truly saw Africa.
Right.
So I just think that was a good number.
I mean, you showed me some photos and videos of, like these beautiful sunsets, these, gorgeous sunsets coming down. You got these gorgeous red rocks, the rivers, all this, I mean, that's, the quintessential experience and, you know, vision that everybody has of Africa that you want to indulge in, right?
Yep.
If I'm going somewhere, I want to experience the surroundings, right? You know, because especially Africa, you're never going to go there again. So you want to see, I mean, like if you, or not mostly everybody's going back there again, but
Yeah.
you want to experience to, you know, trying to see if the culture of, you know, like a tribal or,
Yeah.
you know, or down in South Africa where, you know, you got the South, right? Where you got these people that talk with a little accent, you
Yeah.
know, but not like that, but South African accent,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
just the community, the experience that everything has to offer.
Yep.
That's why I'm huge into Jim Shockey's videos that he does.
Yeah.
Because he shows a lot of the culture. You know, when he goes to Africa, he shows a lot of these indigenous tribes, how they live. You know, complete 180 from what we do here, right? So you definitely get to value the things that you have in life. You know, how easy a lot of these things are, right? Versus what it is back in other places.
And we did that. We did, you know, like the sightseeing, the tourism, like I talked about in the first part. We did, you know, we saw like a leopard track, and that was a day we were just generally sightseeing. And they're like, oh yeah, let's go down to the Limpopo River, and you'll see crocs and maybe some hippos. And we were just trying to find species.
Yeah.
That was the day I found elephants and tracked them with my drone, and just some cool stuff, man. And then we went into like a little kind of podunk town, and they're like, hey, there's this place in here that's like bomb to eat at. And you pull up and it's literally a
And
hut.
it's not a chain, it's not a big
No.
place.
It's a hut.
Yep.
It's a hut. And but it's gorgeous. Like there's grass everywhere. They take very good care of it. But you go in and there's like a full-size stuffed lion in there, and then they've got a bar. Their beer is awesome. I think it's called I think it's Black Label is what it's called. It's really good. And so we all got beers and stuff. What's crazy is we took our whole team and we took all of our guides, and we fed everyone with 5 food platters for like $150.
Yeah.
And bar tap. And it was like, holy cow, like that's just speaks to how far our money goes there.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, it was a really cool experience. That was more of like, and we were driving through like small little ag towns. You're riding around on these what do they have there? I think Land Rovers or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Stuff like that, probably.
Like high rack Land Rovers and stuff. And you know, we drove through little agricultural towns. We saw a lot of cool fields of like they were
That'd
growing
be
different
awesome,
stuff,
yeah.
and it was kind of cool. Yeah.
to see how these people survive and live and make their living out there, man.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's always so cool to me, to experience how other people live their lives and how they can support their families and how they can grow on for generations and generations of compared to, you know, people like us that are always so busy in the hustle and bustle of the city and,
Right.
you know, and take a lot of things for granted. And that's why I love to experience any sort of a community or try and go find the hole in the wall place that has the soul in the food, you know, you know, instead of a chain, you know, stuff like that. So,
Yep.
like when me and the old man and all of us went down to Louisiana, we ended up doing a fishing trip down there, and you know, yeah, you can go to these big, huge chain places, but we found the back alley type, you know, restaurants and all this, and it was awesome. Yep. Truly experience, but
Heck yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, let's get into some of the hunting stuff here.
All
What are the animals that you did end up harvesting? A lot of the animals that you maybe even saw, or maybe some other people that were in the group that they might have ended up harvesting as well.
Yeah. Everybody shot an impala. That's just your standard go-to while you're there. Yeah. It's
Like you can't shoot anything else until you shoot it in ball.
yeah,
right?
pretty much. It's their whitetail. And
Okay.
I shot my first one. I talked about it in part 1, but I shot
Right.
a free range for my first one. And the second one I shot, man, I hate saying that because there it's like, it's high fence, okay, but it's still a 80,000 acre.
Yeah.
So that's to me,
It's not high
that's pretty
fence,
much
yeah.
free range.
Yeah.
But the first one I shot, I think was like 19. And I think the second one I shot was like 27 inches. And then pretty much everybody else was laying down impalas at first. It wasn't really till later in the trip when like bigger things started hitting the ground.
Okay.
I was in the mindset.
People had to get their feet wet
Yeah,
first, right?
yeah. You got to dust off. That's why, like, it was just like shoot an Impala at first. And
Get
just
the jitters
it
out of
off.
the way,
Yeah.
kind of,
Get the
yeah.
jitters out, get one under your belt. And, like,
Yeah.
kind of when you go to Texas, we're like, let's just go shoot a doe real quick and just
Yeah.
get it out of the way, you know?
Unless if the stud walks right in. But
yeah, sometimes that happens for sure. But generally, that's the idea.
Right.
I went into it thinking that I wanted to shoot a sable.
Okay. Yep.
And I was very like dead set on like, I'm going to shoot like, and then I saw when we went to our second location, cause we stayed at 2 places. And when we went to our second location, I saw this just toad jet black sable
Yeah.
at this water hole as we were driving in. And they're like, oh yeah, he's almost there every day. And so they're like, you could probably sit that spot and get him. And I was like, oh yeah.
Right.
This is
Right.
good. I have a picture of him still.
Yeah.
And so I had a picture of him and I would just look at it and stuff. And I was like, man, that's like, and then in the lodge that we stayed at, they had a shoulder pedestal of one too. And so I'd see that every day walking in. I'm like, dude, that is badass. Like,
Right.
They just look so cool.
Just the jet black, all
Yeah.
that. It's so cool, man. It's
Yeah.
one of the prettiest animals, I think.
And I like their horns because their horns are so big that you can't really have him coming straight off the wall. Like
It
he
has to be
has to have
turned.
his head
Yeah.
turned. Yeah. And so I thought about it. And then ultimately when I was sitting there, we sat a different hole and it was an elevated blind. And one of the guys that I was with was like, are you sure you don't want to shoot a kudu? And one of the American guys, not one of the South African guys. And he was like, they call them the gray ghost too.
Oh,
Like,
really?
So like
Okay.
our coos deer is their
The gray ghost.
that
Except
is
this
their-
this ghost is 700 plus pounds, right?
Yeah, they're massive. And
Okay.
they're very quiet. Like you do not hear them coming in. I was told that their back feet literally step in the same footprint as their front foot.
Huh.
And they literally will step in the same spot as
Okay.
they're walking forward. And so a few of them started coming in, you know, it was like, oh yeah, this is a great spot. We'll sit this, very likely for sable, you know, and these
Okay.
kudu started coming in and they were younger and it was like, oh yeah. And then I saw like one come out and I was like, that's not a young one.
Right.
And I was like, damn, those are kind of cool. And then I saw another one come out and so our blind was just off of the road. So like, as I'm sitting in our blind looking out, the road is to our right, about 50 yards.
Okay.
And we could see a group of about 5 or 6 kudu coming in. And they were walking in single file and they kept progressively getting bigger.
bigger and
Well, that's how the big ones usually do, right?
Hang out
They
in the
come
back.
in
Well,
last. Those are smart. Well,
Usually either I've seen turkeys though completely different. I've seen turkeys
True.
sometimes where the lead guy is the big old huge burly bird, you know.
well, in this case specifically, the big ones were coming in last.
In last, yeah.
And that's what the guide kind of told me too. He said generally you'll have a few that come in right away. They call them also satellites. You'll
Okay.
have satellites come in first, and then he said the old bulls will usually come into water last, just to make sure there's no danger there and stuff. And so we were sitting there and we're kind of sizing them up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that one's in the 40s and this and that." And he's like, "You want a good one? You want in the 50s?" And I'm like,
Okay.
okay. And so, like in part 1, there was the one that came out that was really wide. So kudu have 2 spiral horns that are really long. What I didn't know too is when they fight, they can actually see those spirals line up with their eyeballs. They can actually see down the spiral of their horns while they're fighting. So when they put their head down and start engaging
It's like a
another
target.
kudu, yes, it's like crosshairs.
or like
They
a
can
scope
look-
or whatever, yeah.
yeah, they look right down the spiral of that horn. They can see the other kudu while they're fighting. And so one came in that was like super wide and splayed out. And the other one eventually showed himself. He came in and he was much taller, but just not as wide.
Okay.
And so it was a conversation of, like 2 conversations. The first one was, well, do you want to shoot a sable or do you want to shoot a kudu?
Right.
And I was like, man, I don't know.
And so, I mean, the sable. So, sable. What everybody's saying is, yeah, he's pretty regular, right? This guy's gonna be there.
It
you
was
know?
almost guaranteed we could go kill him.
yeah.
But
These kudu,
yeah,
the gray ghost,
not.
right?
And it's pretty rare to see a good one and a big one that a guy
It's
gets
pretty
excited
good.
about.
It's pretty rare to see a good one.
Uh-huh.
It's really rare to see a big one,
Yeah.
right?
And so when my guide was like, he was like, those 2, he's like, those are machine.
And I was like, all right. And
Machine.
And I did have a little bit of obligation to shoot something that day because it was his birthday.
Oh, the guy's birthday?
And he was hunting with me on his birthday. And so I
Gotcha.
was like, dude, I've got to shoot something.
Yeah.
Right?
And these are beautiful animals. Like,
yes.
gorgeous
Yeah.
animals. They have these stripes coming down the body. I mean, so gorgeous.
Like that Bengal pattern kind
Yeah.
of. And then kudu also have those cool beards.
They got a beard,
They got
yeah.
big old beard.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, I was like, all right. I was like, you know what? It's a kudu hunt now. And so I said, I'll shoot a sable some other time. And he was like, okay. And so he's like, well, he just basically was like, shoot one. And I was like, which one would you shoot? I said, if it was your hunt and this bow is in your hand, which
Right.
one would you kill? And he goes, that one. And he said the taller one.
Right.
He's like, the wider one, very cool. It's rarer that they're wide.
Okay.
He's like, the one that I'm telling you to shoot is usually more uniform, but he goes, he's probably got a good another 4 to 5 inches on the one and so he's like, if you want for size, if you want for size, shoot the tall one. If you want uniqueness, shoot the wide one.
If you want to show off your friends, your animal in your truck,
Well,
or in your house.
One of the guides in our group had already shot a big kudu, so I was like, I'm gonna try and one up him. I was like, so if you think this can compare with the other one, he's like, all right, let's do it. And then sure enough, that was also the one that gave us the first opportunity.
Okay, cool.
So they threw out some alfalfa. He did drink water. I've got footage. I was there to film and do all that stuff and mark it. So I've got the whole thing on film.
Yeah, you've got the shot on film, everything, don't you?
Yep. Yeah, that's what's great too, is a lot of these guides are very savvy in filming. So like I set up my own camera. I already dialed everything in terms of settings and all that stuff, but he knows how to operate it and film it. And then not only that, but like he picked up camera personality too. And like they know how to, carry themselves on camera as if they're filming for a hunting show. And so like that was really cool. But exotics are different in terms of whitetail and other stuff that we're used to, or you want to tuck it in the pocket of the armpit.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Yeah.
If you do that on an exotic in Africa, you're going to lose that animal.
Yeah, you're gonna hit gut.
Yep.
A lot of the times.
And
yeah.
I did on my big Impala. If you watch the footage, I've showed so many people that footage and they're like, oh, smoked it. I'm like,
Yeah. So what he's talking about, and I learned this from Texas too, is you want to follow that leg all the way up to the shoulder.
Shoot the shoulder. Yeah.
And shoot right at the shoulder, right above that little kind of knuckle of that kind of back shoulder, I guess, more or less. But
like if you were to shoot an elk, you would shoulder blade it and that arrow.
Yeah, that'd be no man's land, right?
But not for an exotic. There is no shoulder blade there.
There's no. It's so weird. These shoulder blades are like almost cartilage. It's like a cartilage kind of.
Like a cartilage, and then also they're just shaped different. It's almost like a kind of like a sickle shape, I guess.
Yeah,
almost.
it is like a sickle too as well.
Like it goes
kind
up
of curve,
and then it's really weird. But you just Google it and look at different stuff. I mean, you can find diagrams of it.
But yeah, it's completely different.
Their vitals are
their
smaller.
vitals are smaller, but also just pushed forward more,
depending on the animal. But
their
far
lungs
forward.
are far forward, in higher.
Yep.
It's completely different. So yeah, if you're definitely looking to go hunt, especially archery hunt in Africa, definitely look up your vitals on a diagram of whatever animal you're looking to hunt.
So I showed a ton of people the footage of the second Impala that I shot. The first one, I cut his lungs in half, but I hit him very frontal, like he was almost turned like almost straight towards me.
Oh,
so when I hit him, it went long ways down his torso and just completely severed his lungs in half.
Okay.
Which was great. Penetration was weird though. I didn't get very much penetration, but that didn't really matter because I hit him frontal. But the second one, if you watch the footage, I've showed a lot of people and they're like, oh, dude, you smoked him. Like, and it's like, I hit him forward of the pocket, but still back, like almost to the pocket.
Right.
And if you watch, the entry of the arrow looks money, but then when you watch it come out, because it blew all the way through him, you see stomach acid come out. And as soon as, like when I shot him at first, I thought, oh, that was great. And my guide was like,
Right.
And I was like, really? And he's like, let's watch the footage and I'll show you. And I was like, okay. And so he showed me the footage and I was like, oh yeah, crap. And we went and found the arrow and sure enough, I had blood, but I also had
bile on
some
it.
bile on it. Yeah. And I was like, dang it. and it turned into an hour and a half track. And,
that's it?
Yeah.
Oh man, shoot. That's easy.
Turned into an hour and a half track. It turned into a dog was brought out, and then he did end up dropping it with his, I don't know, 470 nitro or something, which was funny to see an Impala get shot with a
Get blasted.
an elephant gun. But you know, it is what it is. It's very tough getting just a perfect shot on these guys. It's not easy, and it's being a Western hunter. We're used to shooting 50, 60 yards, you know, and you're shooting 10, 12, and it's
Right.
very different. You're like, whoa.
So the pinpoint accuracy has to be that much better.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
which not to say out here obviously doesn't matter. It does, right? But we don't sometimes always practice at 10 yards
That's rare.
because
can't
we're out
imagine
here
yeah.
trying to shoot 60 plus yards. So it's just completely different.
Well,
And a
even-
lot of it's sitting down, right? Or you're in a
Exactly.
blind, different angles.
So there, you're actually sitting down for a lot of it, but when you shoot, you do stand because their blinds are almost like bunker blinds. So
Okay.
you're actually below ground level, but when you stand, you're above ground level by like a foot or two.
You also showed me some of these blinds that the shot windows are pretty minimal.
They're very small,
Right.
far different from American blinds.
Right.
Like you've got
And that's I
6 to
obviously
8
to
inch-
take it because these animals are getting so close.
yes,
Any movement, anything, obviously to help
Yeah.
kind of hide that. And could,
you've got maybe like a 6 to 8 inch slit in front of you, like
Okay.
and it's mostly vertical, you know, and the width is maybe 6 to 8 inches. So like you're really squeezing that arrow through there,
Yeah.
pretty close. Some of the other ones though, like when I shot my kudu, that was elevated blind.
okay.
That shot I think was 30 yards. So that was more like in my realm of, which honestly I think speaks to the shot placement because I freaking heart punched him. And I remember my guide was so pumped on the placement. He's like, dude, because we watched him, like he was just enough. And so he walked fully broadside, he was standing there for a minute. And I was like, okay, sweet. Like he's not going to move. You can tell by an animal's body language
Right.
whether they're going to take another step. And he was happy where he was at. So the guide was like, if that's the one you want, go for it. I said, yep. And so I drew down on him. Everything felt really good, released, heart punched him. If you want to see the footage, it's on my Instagram. But heart punched him. And he literally, you know, an animal can run off into the bush and they're starting to disappear.
Right.
He hit that point of starting to disappear and you could see him just go, boom. And he only went like 40 yards and then tipped over. So
Yeah.
that was perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be able to see the animal
Out
go
of-
down, that's
well-
always the best. That's always what we dream of, right?
And from
Being
a-
able to see him go down.
From a selfish perspective, I was like, I just shot a $4,000 animal. I better make this a good shot versus like screwing up on a $300 animal. But yeah.
Yeah, and especially on an animal you have to pay for. But
Yes.
the other thing is too, like you're saying, if you weren't listening to the previous episode, if you shoot an animal that's in a bad spot, like you were saying, sometimes if it takes a long time to track them,
Yeah.
you don't want to go into dark because you got animals coming out that are gonna kick you off that animal and
Yeah.
you become dinner. You know, so
Yeah.
a lot of these safety precautions and you know, in the back of the mind of trying to make sure everything's pinpoint
Right.
accuracy, safety wise, not only for you but for the guy that you're taking on with you,
Yeah.
of just making sure everything's ethical, obviously, but
Right.
safety first. you
Even
know?
during the daytime, man. I mean, you've got Cape buffalo everywhere. And
Yeah.
later the next day, like that blind that I shot that Impala out of, we hunted again, and we were completely at the same time of the day, completely surrounded by a herd of like 30 Cape buffalo. So like they were there
that'd be
in the area.
Awesome
And
to see.
so
too.
like we're trying to track this Impala, and we're like, he's like, oh, there's Cape buffalo here somewhere, 100%. So you just gotta be careful and go real slow.
Yeah. So, I mean, in that scenario, I mean, what's kind of the mindset, or, you know, when you're walking out to go retrieve an animal that you, especially like you said, the one where you ended up gut punching,
Yeah.
do you have any sort of safety in your mind of walking in around a corner and any safety precautions that the guides might be doing, or, you know?
I would say, like, let me tease it up this way. Like, for instance, in Texas, you can kind of walk lockstep or maybe even a little bit ahead of your guide.
Okay.
Like there's some freedom in tracking an animal.
Right.
In Africa, guide first. You second.
And 10 feet behind.
Well, yeah, because the
right.
guide has the
He's got the boom
He's got
stick.
the gun.
Yeah.
And so, generally speaking, they want you right behind them, and it's very safety oriented because it's no slouch, man. There's real shit. There's stuff there that will kill you.
Yeah, no doubt.
So
I mean, that's the what are they? Is it the Black Death continent or something? Whatever. I don't know how we keep saying it, but
even we pulled up to some Black Death or Cape Buffalo that like in a truck, and they were like sizing you up. You could tell that they're get aggressive.
You see these videos of elephants, nudging these vehicles, safari vehicles.
Yep.
Rhinos, these elephants that or the Cape Buffalo that are pushing and hitting these vehicles. They don't care,
We've
right?
got a video of a Cape Buffalo ripping a door off of one of the Land Rovers. It just charged it and just didn't care. The vehicle got too close and he was too testy that day. And so that door was gone. Yeah.
Maybe he was under initiation. The herd was like, you got to go get a door off.
This guy's kind of a little sissy. He's like, I'll show you, sissy. Check this out.
Yeah, I think so, guys. He's under a little bit of a herd initiation.
Yep.
But no, that speaks to safety precautions though, because everything out there is going to try and hurt you.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've got thorns. They've got all these different things out there. I'm sure. I don't know if they've got any sort of a cactus, but I'm sure they've got thorn brush. All that.
I didn't really see any cactus. They definitely have like, I would say our version of like Palo Verde mesquite, like that stuff, but their thorns, like you said, are 3 to 4 times bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, just being precautious out there at all times, especially you're not home.
Right. Yeah.
So you want to enjoy that experience as much as you can without being in a hospital or back at the lodge trying to recuperate.
Yep. Even things like the baboons will be aggressive.
Yeah. Well, what isn't a baboon? Like if they get hurt, you got to kill it instantly because otherwise they call for the herd and they'll come in and whoop your butt.
Yeah.
Right?
So we'll tease that one up. So I did shoot a baboon. First off, the sheer size of these things, you just think baboon monkey.
Right.
But when you see one come in, especially,
they just look mean.
Yeah. And so I was like,
that face,
that alpha male came in because all the other monkeys came in first. And then the alpha male came out and I was like, I looked at my guide and I was like, good God, that thing is huge. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, that's the alpha. He goes, you kill him. And I said, okay. And so when you shoot a baboon, he told me, he said, first off, because they have that very good eyesight, he said, do not move until he puts his head down to drink. So what they'll do is they'll basically put their knuckles on the ground and lean forward.
They do just like this badass way
they
of
do.
getting water. Like,
man. That's what's even funnier, man. The alpha males do have a legit swagger. Like, I am the shit. Like, straight up. You see him walking in and he's got his balls
he's
dragging
got
on
the
the
Conor
ground.
McGregor walk going on.
He does. He does. The Conor McGregor. And they just think they're the coolest thing ever. Which is awesome. I mean, he obviously is like he's earned his place in that ecosystem. But it is funny to watch as just observe and stuff. And so he comes in, they put his knuckles on the ground, and he leans forward to drink, and he puts his face to the water, and he's got his head down, and he can't see anything. And he said, "Okay, I want you to go about 2 to 3 inches up or further down his back from the base of his skull." So basically, you're going down. His head's down at the water. You're going from his head down his rib cage towards his lower back, and you're trying to sever the spine. And so
you're trying to paralyze him.
You're spining him 100%. I mean, it'll kill him immediately, but it's just, it's a tough shot. Right. It's a small margin, and it was like 30 yards. So even though they're big, like that's not a lot of room for air.
How big would you say a baboon, like this obviously this alpha male, but how big would you say he was?
At least as big as my golden retriever.
Oh, okay.
And he's 80 pounds. They're big. Yeah. And like stature wise and body wise, like I was impressed at how big a monkey is.
Yeah.
You know, because we had seen other monkeys there. They're called vervet monkeys.
Okay.
And that's what you would think of like your spider monkeys
These,
that
yeah,
you see.
small little guys going off of trees. here and there.
100%. And you're like, oh yeah, that's a monkey. But then you see these and you're like, what the hell is that? Like that's a monkey on juice.
Right. And they just look nasty, man. They just look so like in your face. Like
we watched one yawn, and their teeth are huge, like massive incisors, and they're all sharp. And I was like, dude, first off, that Euro would be dope.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So what happened with this shot? I'm so curious, and I want to know what happened.
So I shot, and one thing that I've been struggling with is my grip on my bow.
Okay.
I do tend to torque my string.
So we found that out in Texas.
Yeah. I do tend to torque my string a little bit to the left. I pull, my bow will be straight. My string will be coming off to the left a little bit. And on my kudu, I was very aware of that. So I was starting to create this process in my brain of like draw, anchor.
Getting your grip, all that.
It was draw, anchor, look at my level, and then look at my string, and then go back to my pin.
Yeah, so you look at what he's saying is look at your string angle on your cam, right? You could see on that cam if it's tearing to the left or tearing to the right.
Yep.
That's going to be a lot of your wrist tweaking it left or right.
It was all grip. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was determining whether or not my arrow would strafe to the left or to the right a little bit.
Yep.
And fortunately for my kudu, money, dead on, dead nuts where I was aiming. Not so much for the baboon, which is weird because I still looked. I did do the process and I still looked, but I think what my problem was the difference between the two blinds. I was in a bunker blind for the baboon. I was in an elevated blind that had more light in it, and I could see my string better. I couldn't see my string as good in the bunker blind.
Well, and you're also probably a little bit more in a rush situation.
Yes.
You got this pressure of this baboon cannot see me. He's drinking. I got to get my shot done. Right.
And they're not going to sit there for long. They don't linger like other animals will.
Like this kudu where you said he's been sitting there for a while. You've got a little bit of time, all this. So a little pressure.
Yeah. And so I shot, released. The shot felt good. Everything felt great. Sometimes you're just like, oh crap, that wasn't it. It felt fine, but it just strayed about 2 to 3 inches to the left. And I ended up just clipping his like arm/shoulder. Yeah. And I just it just glanced off and he looked pissed. Dude, he looked mad. I've got the footage of it and you can see he's just like, it looks like he's screaming. He's like, ah, like he bares his teeth and everything and all that stuff. And he was fine. He booked it. He was dragging his arm a little bit, but he's probably all right. So it was at least a good miss. If it was going to miss, it wasn't like something that like, well, crap, he's going to go off and die. Like, he's all right.
So were you guys worried at all of trying to leave that blind though?
No, we tracked it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we went and tracked it. Yeah.
You tracked a wounded baboon.
Yeah, probably not to our better judgment, but that's what I said. I liked my guide, man.
If that was me, I'd be walking out with an AR-15 like 30 round clip, man.
No, I mean, we had a gun with us, don't get me wrong. But we tracked him for a little bit, and he said, to be fair, like if they don't really know exactly what shot them or anything like that, and even though like something kind of went off, the bow skipped an arrow and all that, he said they might come back to water here in a few minutes. So we waited a little while. Then we went out and tracked him and stuff, and he still thinks they probably weren't very far, but it's not really worth. It was like, well, let's go back and sit. We sat for a while. And we did size up a couple of other animals. We had a really good warthog come in, and I thought about it, but in the end, I passed. I actually kind of switched and deviated because at this point, I had already killed 2 impala and a kudu. I told him if a good gemsbuck came in, I'd shoot it. We had a female come in, but wasn't that great. And so we decided to spot and stalk gemsbuck pretty much for the rest of the trip. And so we did that. We got close. We almost shot one at 40 yards, but they pegged us.
And then
it was a shooter.
Somebody probably drove by with a little Jeep. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, that didn't happen. But it was cool. We got a good spot and stalk in, which was dope. Like spot and stalk in Africa is pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah.
So that was fun. And we had made, by the time we got the almost successful stock, we had already chased this herd 3 or 4 times. And we just kind of kept bumping them around a little bit. They were always kind of seemed like they were in front of us.
Okay.
They don't walk real slow either. They kind of walk with intent. And
Okay.
unless they find something that hangs them up, they
Oh,
kind
I
of move.
mean, they're prairie, a lot
Yeah.
mainly kind of prairie animals, right? They're antelope, so they always
Yep.
moving,
Yep.
right?
So that was fun. And that was kind of the way we wrapped up and ended that particular day, which we were already on a high. It was his birthday and we already smoked a kudu. So like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
a lot of beers that night and some beers and wine. And we ate it that night. We had kudu that night.
That kudu, yeah.
So I'm trying to see if I don't want to go out of order here on our notes, but like the celebratory around the animal. Do you want me to jump into that?
Yeah,
Or-
let's go for it, man. Yeah.
So every night, and I've got every night on footage. I think most of it's just with my cell phone, but every night when you get back, the villagers gather around, like the local villagers gather around, and they all thank you for the animal that you've killed. They say, "Hey, we want to honor tonight's successful hunters." They said, "We want to thank you," and he's like, his name's Servius. He's like, "We want to thank you, Mr. Stephen Miller, for your kudu bull." And it's cool, man, because like they go in, they elaborate more, but they're basically telling you thank you because they're getting that meat.
They get the food.
Yeah. And this guy is like Michelin star trained though. Like his cooking is wildly good.
So you're saying the meat goes to the villagers.
Yep.
Obviously, you're on a ranch. It's an 80,000
Mhm.
acre ranch. Is there villages in this ranch too, or no?
Not in the ranch,
So
but
outside.
all surrounding the ranch. In
Okay.
fact, to speak to what, well, I'll hold off because I think that's later, but what the ranch provides. But
Yeah.
in terms of food, it feeds the entire staff. So they load up all the staff and their family. So like Servius and his whole family, they all get fed from
Okay.
the wild game at the ranch.
Right.
And then anything that is left after feeding all them goes directly into the local village and feeds all the villagers. They just give that meat to them. And then, of course, you know, the guys that own the ranch and stuff too, they keep some and eat it as
Right.
well. But I'm telling you, like, there's enough that's continuously coming out of this place that it feeds the local village as a whole. And you eat it every night, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everything you eat there is wild game. To my knowledge, we didn't have any form of livestock, I don't think, while we were there. It was all wild game. Like we had kudu schnitzel, even the appetizers are made from whatever. Like we ate all of it. So
It's a hunter's paradise, man.
yeah, and it's delicious. It's amazing the stuff that they put out from this, you know,
Yeah.
wild game selection that they have. It's pretty dope. It's pretty dope.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into a little bit more about what the ranches provide as far as economic and you know, for the communities around and all that. But
Mhm.
I mean, I'm still strung up on this hunt stuff. Obviously, so you had the kudu, you had the baboon,
Yep.
you had the 2 impalas. Was there anything else? I mean, obviously, you know, you had that kind of thing of that sable back in your mind. Did you end up maybe want to go back for that? No, or
Yeah, I would definitely go back and get a sable. If I went back, man, I'd be torn between. I would like to also, now that I've got a kudu, there's an animal called a Nyala,
okay.
and they look like a smaller version of a kudu.
Of a
They're
kudu.
really cool.
I kind of always thought so. Like just in horns wise,
Yeah,
I think a black buck kind of looks like a mini version of
Yeah.
a kudu.
100%.
You know.
The spiral shape, tall.
Spiral, yeah,
Yep. Exactly.
straight horned. You know,
Very similar. A Nyala would be dope. Sable would still be pretty sweet. What was it? One animal came in that was so wild looking, and I was like, dude, I was practically begging the guide to shoot it. And I think it was a blesbuck, I think is what
Okay.
it was. They've
yeah,
got,
those are cool too.
you know, the Ice Walker, or what are they from
Oh.
Game of Thrones? All the
Yeah,
dead,
the ice walkers.
the dead people
or
have
something
those like
that, yeah.
crystal blue eyes. These animals have those colored eyes, and it is
Okay.
wild looking. And
Huh.
then they've got a stripe. They're very dark. Their main color is primarily like a dark brown,
Okay,
and they've got a pure white stripe
down their face. Yeah. Yep.
And their horns are kind of cool. So they have kind of the black buckish horns where it's got like rivets on it, but they come up, they go out, and then they swoop,
curve
swoop in.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's really almost like a shepherd's hook, kind of. And I saw that thing come in. I was like, dude, that is such a cool looking animal. I was like, that shoulder mount would be bizarre. Like that would be sweet. And I was like, I want to shoot that. And he was like, what? He's like, that's too young. He's like, that's maybe 3 years old. You need 5 to 7. And so I was like, all right. So if I go back, a good Blez buck would be on the
is on a target
list for sure.
Yeah.
And that damn baboon.
Yeah, that would, to me, that would be awesome.
I've got a vengeance out for a baboon now.
I mean, obviously, you know, when you think of a baboon, you think of obviously a monkey, and a lot of people don't want to go and try and hunt a monkey because it's some sort of a primate.
Yep.
But how do they taste?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, so you haven't been okay. So you guys didn't eat any of it when you were there. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Nobody had shot one.
Has anybody said anything about that or what they taste like? Or?
You know, to be honest, I don't know if I asked him.
Okay,
I'm not sure. I mean,
I'd be curious because
try.
I know a lot of places from what I've seen and what I've heard. That monkey is like a delicacy. You know, and like it's super delicious. A lot of people like it.
I'll try anything once.
Yeah, I mean, it in some people's minds, it's obviously a little weird to get over that mindset.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's whatever. I have an open mind, you know.
Yeah. Well, did you have any sort of challenges that you had during this hunt that might have gotten in the way, and anything that you had to overcome to get past it?
For sure, like the string thing. That was something I noticed. And it was one of the guys that I work with, Cooper, that pointed it out to me. Because I was sitting there, like I said, I would shoot. In a lot of my downtime, I would shoot targets, you know, just to stay fresh and get those reps in and stuff.
Just something to do when you're sitting there at the lodge, right?
Yeah. And he was the one that noticed. He goes, hold up. He goes, because I was at full draw. And he goes, hold up. He goes, look up at your cam. And I was like, all right. I looked up at it. He goes, see your string coming off? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, that's your grip. Adjust your grip. Get that string straight. And then he was the one that made it. And he goes, now apply that to your shooting process overall. Like, look at your pin, look at your level, look at the cam.
Right. Give you one more thing to have to think about.
Yeah, I know, right? And that was honestly the biggest thing. Second thing I would say to overcome was just shot placement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just getting out of your mind. And which you've kind of learned that from going to Texas, but getting over the mindset of not putting it behind the shoulder and just driving it right through, right?
Exactly. Yeah, just let it power through that shoulder. You'll be all right.
Yeah, trust it. You know, these guys know what they're talking about.
Yep.
Trust them, you know.
I would say other than hunting, like the other big thing was, you know, I'm there for work. So work came first before hunting in that scenario. So I would say a big heavy weight on my shoulders was making sure I did everything I needed to do to perform the job that I was there for. So
right. Obviously, filming and marketing. That's your number one job while you're there.
Yeah, I told a lot of people, like I said, it was kind of a weird experience because I'll talk in terms of like vacations. I'll be like, I feel like I haven't had a vacation in a while, and I honestly think like a lot of the enjoyment, although I had enjoyment in Africa, a lot of it was kind of robbed a little bit because I was there primarily for work. And I felt the immense pressure of like, how often do you get to come over here? Like, you better capture everything that you need to and perform for this client. Because if you don't, like, you can't screw that up. It's a lot of money to get me over there, you know?
Yeah.
And
I mean,
all that.
you have a responsibility. You have a job you have to attend to.
So although I was there for 10 days, I really only got, 2 to 3 days of enjoyment. And those weren't even full days. Those are like afternoon sits, to hunt and really get for myself. But yeah, it was still fun.
Yeah.
Beats working a 9 to 5.
Oh, geez. Right. Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit of this. And I know it's been talked about before, but transporting the animal from Africa. I mean, maybe, what's somewhat of the cost and expected,
right?
Some of the rules expected, what all you're going to end up being able to transport, because some of it you're not able to actually take,
right?
I mean, what all is expected in trying to transport and harvest that animal to bring home?
It's going to be a lot.
we got time.
Excuse me.
what are the rules and regulations and processes that need to be done for that?
So absolutely no meat can be taken home. You don't get to bring any home, unfortunately. You can bring home the horns, the bones, and the skin, pretty much, or whatever mount. You could do it two ways. You can have them send you the flat skin, and you can have a guy here in the States, do your mount for you, or you can just have them do the whole thing and ship it. I'm just going the route of I'm having them do the whole thing and ship it to me because I know who the taxidermist is, and I know they do great work. So they're gonna basically do the full mount, do bubble wrap or whatever they do. I don't know, and
probably
then
ship it in a box in a container.
It's gonna be a crate.
Yeah, a crate. Yeah.
They're gonna crate it and they're gonna send it, to my house and stuff, and or I'm gonna have to go pick it up. I'm not sure. I'm still in the works of finding out how it all goes.
Yeah.
The taxidermist is working on it. Typically, it's a little bit under a year for their turnaround time for taxidermy.
Okay.
That's not super long. Sometimes in the States here, like in Arizona particularly, I know it can be 2 to 3 years to get a mount back, but they're a little bit quicker. So, I'll have 2 Impala. I'm just the first Impala, the smaller one. I just did a Euro on.
Okay.
I shoulder pedestaled the big one.
The big guy. Yeah.
Of course, that kudu baby. He's getting shoulder pedestal too.
What? You're not doing a full size mount?
I don't know where I put that. That's fine. He's going at your house though.
That's fine. I don't care. Yeah. Bring it on over.
Or we can put it in Pop's man cave.
That'd be awesome.
Steel driver. That'd be pretty dope.
That'd be
actually.
cool. Just a life-size kudu.
Life-size kudu with an arrow sticking in it. Dude, that'd be dope. Right?
That'd be pretty cool.
Where I placed it. Oh, man, that's a good idea.
Call him up. Tell him, hey, change your mind.
Tell you what, if I shoot a 360 or bigger bull this season, I will full-size it with the arrow in it.
Can we shake? We got this on podcast right now.
Yeah.
If you heard this, guys, if he shoots a 360 plus bull this year, he is full sizing it.
Do you think that bull that we saw at Jimmy's hunt was 360 or bigger? I'd say close.
I'd say close.
I'd say he's probably
he's probably 350 ish.
Yeah.
I don't know. 360 is a big bull.
Yeah,
it's a really big bull
for sure.
We take a lot of things for granted here in Arizona because we have high caliber bulls, but 360 is no slouch. That's a huge bull.
Well, did the deadhead we find? Did you measure that? Didn't you say that was 360?
No, the deadhead I found is actually just a hair bigger than my 5x5.
Okay.
And he was only like 320 ish.
Oh, geez. Okay, I'm way off.
So no, not even close.
Yeah, that was a big bull.
Yeah. So 360 is no joke.
Okay.
Man.
Well, offer still stands.
But yeah, so you guys heard it first. We're gonna hold him accountable. If he shoots anything over 360, I want to see a life size with an arrow in it, imitated blood, all the jazz.
Done.
We need it all.
Done.
Anyways, we're talking about Africa, not that. But yeah, so I mean, what we've heard before is obviously no meat. And I'm wondering, did they tell you a reason why you can't transport the meat?
Honestly, I just think it's kind of political bullcrap.
Okay.
I think it's something to do with the FDA and stuff, and I don't know that there's any real rhyme or reason.
Any sort of a virus that could be transported or disease that could be transported, probably.
I mean, that might be why. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm not overly, I don't lose sleep about it at night. I don't, from an ethics standpoint, I don't feel bad about it because I ate it.
Right.
The entire time. And then I saw the people that it was going to feed. I saw their families that it was going to feed. And then I toured the village that will receive it as well. So I'm cool with that at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, let's I guess pretty much jump right into that. These ranches, these outfits out here in Africa, are just the quintessential prime example of what conservation and what the hunters bring to wildlife conservation. I don't think there's any more of a perfect example than these ranches out here in Africa.
Yeah.
Of what they provide, not only for the animals but for the community, for the tribes, for the villages.
Right.
Just truly setting a standard. And let's talk about that.
Yeah. So above and beyond the meat, obviously there's employment.
Right.
You know, other than agriculture or hunting, there's not, unless they're at a major metropolis like Johannesburg or something like that, there's no livelihood really for them to have. And so, like, the employment opportunities off of this, you know, he employed 5 full-time poaching teams,
Yeah.
you know, off of hunting. By the way, to sidestep real quick, don't let me get too sidetracked, but to sidestep, we saw poaching while we were there.
Okay.
An impala came in with a snare around its neck that was entangled, and the guide said that animal's free if you get a shot on it because he said that animal will die. And so, like, we saw legit poaching. You know, you hear about it, and then there's hearing about it, and then there's seeing it. So there's like, yeah, it happens. I heard about it. But then there's like, holy crap, this animal's in front of me and has a steel snare around its neck and is going to die and become emaciated and all that stuff. And that's terrible. So it's very real, and we saw that firsthand. So he employed those teams. Obviously, there's the staff. Every single day, our laundry was washed. So when you come back, when I say home, when you come back to the lodge, you shed your clothes from the day's hunt or whatever, and you take a shower and stuff, and you set it in a basket that they have. Those clothes from that night were on my bed about noon the next day and folded and washed and everything. So there's housekeeping, you know.
Right.
My room was cleaned every day. There was fresh coffee in
All
my
these
room every day.
commodities and amenities. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so all those people are employed. Dude, this you want some of my favorite people next to the guides was the skinners and trackers. Those guys are badass, man. And you want to talk about some like legit woodsmen.
Okay.
Those guys, because they are local villagers. They're not the guides. You know, the guides are all these like your typical South African, you know, British descendants.
Right.
These local trackers and these skinners are villagers, like legit villagers, and they are cool. You know, his name was Joseph. And saw them just doing some of their finest work, man. It was pretty sweet. And I got to sit
see
there
people in their own craft that are knowledgeable and you know, professional in what they do, right?
It was kind of almost like I can't even imagine what it'd be like to hunt with Joseph. Like, I bet that guy's just deadly. Just
That'd be awesome.
deadly.
Yeah.
But I got to hang out with them at the skinning shed for a bit. They were finishing up my kudu, and then another guy's giant freaking warthog. He just slammed a toad. And they have a giant, literally like probably a front loader bucket sized pile of salt, and they salt everything. So they skin it out, salt the
Preserve
skin,
it, yeah.
take the skull out, pick out the eyeballs, the brains, salt it. Like, they do all that stuff, man. But what's cool to speak to that too is they also save all the organs. Like, literally nothing goes to waste other than I think maybe the guts.
Yeah, some of the stomach stuff probably.
They eat all the organs. They do the same thing we do. And because all that stuff was hanging up, I saw heart, liver, like all that, and they're taking it home, and they'll eat that later too. So that was pretty cool. So obviously they employ all these people. On top of that, they built a marketplace in their local town. Because remember, he owns 80,000 acres. Like, he's out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
like, that's a giant piece of land. And he was one of 5 ranches in that local area. And so they built like a local marketplace, a gas station. And this guy in particular owned the school. They built a local school that his kids went to, and all the local villagers' kids went to. And so they built all off of the proceeds of these hunting ranches.
All of the money that these hunters coming in from all over the world go and spend to be able to go and experience what Africa has to offer. All through conservation, that this money is used to help that community.
100%. Because remember, our dollar to them is 18.
Yeah.
It's 1 to 18. So every American dollar is worth 18 of theirs. And so, you know, do the math. You come in and drop 10 grand as an American, it's worth a lot to them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even on top of that, you know, probably, so all the food that gets used towards all these villagers, these guys, you know, all these other communities and stuff like that, not only this ranch, but other ranches, you know, all that, being able to provide food and opportunities for these people. It's truly amazing to see that.
Yeah. It was cool, man. It was just definitely like, I would say largely because I had heard about all of this before.
It's so
getting into
dependent
hunting.
on that, you know?
Getting into hunting, and you hear about Africa, you hear these things like, oh, it hunting through conservation, and this is good, and this is why Africa exists, and blah blah blah. But it was firsthand confirmation, having gone over there and experienced it for myself finally and stuff. It was like, holy crap, like this is really all true.
Yeah.
Like, it was just neat.
You know, they're creating a refuge for these animals to be able to live.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if everybody was allowed to poach and just kill at will, there's no management. They have no management concept in mind. But now that
Create a value.
create a value, put a plan around it, enact it. You know, put a fence up, unfortunately, but whatever. Put a fence up,
Yeah.
keep it contained, and do it. It works perfectly. So,
Yeah. No, that's truly the impact of what conservation has to offer
Oh yeah.
around the world. You know, not only Africa, but what we've seen, you know, through Texas, through all these animals that have, you know, almost been on the brink of extinction, start to thrive and be
Yeah.
reintroduced and all that. It's truly awesome to be
Yes,
able to
sir.
see that.
Yeah.
But, all right, let's start seeing here. I don't know. What's this one here? Highlight a success story or positive impacts that you've seen. So, I mean, obviously, you guys eat the food there every day, right?
Yep.
And then so I would be very intrigued to see like some of these animals that are cut up, processed, and then delivered to a lot of these villagers or delivered to your. Did you get to see anything like with the people or the staff that where they're accepting the meat or anything like that? Or
I didn't really get to see them accept it. They definitely all express their gratitude, like individually. And like I said, I took the video each night of them. Like they literally gather around every night right before dinner and celebrate. You know,
I got to see that video. That's awesome.
Yeah, Mr. Steven, we want to thank you for your kudu bur. And and everyone claps. They all clap and
That's so
stuff.
cool.
And then they say, "Oh, Mr. Adam, we want to thank you for your impala." You know, and they take the time to show their gratitude and stuff. And all the staff is very courteous, very kind, very thankful. You know, it's really cool. Very humbling too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as the trip, you know, you have to prepare to get there, right? You know, you have to do some research of what all is legal to bring. You know, whether it's a firearm, how to do that, passports, all that. You know, entailed into trying to get to Africa.
Yep.
Once you're there in Africa, you know, having the correct guide, right?
Yeah.
You know, having the correct person there to give you that ultimate experience that you're wanting to have. Having some sort of an expectation, right? You
Sure.
know, of having a mindset of what you're wanting to go after. Being precautious, right? So safety's always first.
Yeah.
You know, any sort of thing that's out there to try and kill you, always have that in mind. Indulge into that environment and culture. You know, all that.
Take the time to sightsee. Take the time to take it all in.
Take the time to sightsee, all that. Yeah. The rivers, you know, I remember you showing me like a drone shot of the river. So cool, man. You know, being able to, like you said, talk with this Joseph guy, you know, all those involved with this whole trip is what makes it truly an experience.
And
know?
you got to ask too. Don't be afraid to ask. Because generally speaking, like, I think I got a little bit of a different experience because I was there for work and it was my job to see all the inner workings of everything. And as somebody, so there's different types of marketers, but as a destination marketer, I need to really understand the destination and how to market it to other people. So I get to see a little bit more than other people. So hopefully like my information here can translate to other people's visits that aren't seeing it from that standpoint. But don't be afraid to ask like, hey man, can I go go to the skinning shed for a little while and watch them skin out my animal and just talk to the guys? And they're going to, don't be afraid. They're going to speak very broken English, some of them, if any. You know, a lot of these guys, I think they said, I can't remember. They all speak Afrikaans, which is what a lot of the South Africans speak. I think there was either Zulu or Swahili.
Wow.
Yeah. And a few of them do speak some of the, I don't know how to say it other than this, but like the clicking languages. And you can ask them like, oh, can you tell me a little bit about your language. Can you speak a little bit of it for me? And they will. Like, they're happy to do it. It's really cool, man. And you can just ask them about their culture and stuff, and they're happy to share it with you.
Yeah, their pride.
Yeah.
They're proud of their culture.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that's
Very.
like people here. We're proud to be Americans, you know.
Yeah.
Well, some people are.
Yeah.
But I mean, for most part, yeah, people are usually proud and want to talk about themselves. I mean, that's
Yeah.
anybody, you know. A lot of people want to share,
Sure.
you know, with other people how they grew up,
Yep.
stuff like that, you know.
Yep. They're very happy to do so, and it's really
Yeah.
cool. It's cool to share that with them for sure, and just get a little insight into their world.
Well, if you could think about, you know, one thing in mind that kind of trumps and sticks with you throughout the whole, and maybe it's not one thing, but as a whole of this African trip, what's one thing that's just, you know, trumps everything, you know, and sticks with you?
Let me tee it up with, first off, like, I'm your typical, like, tough guy. Men don't show their emotions. I'm not saying that's right. Like, I know some guys that are very, like, can cry on command, you know.
Right.
But that's just me. I'm like, suck it up. Don't tell anybody how I feel. I don't cry. Like, I've cried a handful of times in my life.
Yep. Yep. Same here.
Recently, one of them being, though, on this trip. And it was just, I was overwhelmed, man, with gratitude. I had just shot my kudu. My guide was going to fetch the truck and was coming back. And I was walking down the road. You know, we had already done all the pictures and all that stuff, but I was walking down the road to go grab my bow and grab my things. And I could see my kudu. I had my bow in my hand. I was just walking. I'm like, dude, I'm in Africa. Like, I just shot a kudu. Like, it overwhelmed me, and I freaking cried, man. I was like, I can't believe I'm here right now. Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
You know, and I think part of that was being because I feel like I'm only 35. I feel like a lot of people that go to Africa are typically a little bit older.
In their late 40s,
Yeah.
you know, 50s.
I would say
people that have been
yeah.
developed with their financial and their life and all that. Yeah.
Right. And I'm doing this in my mid 30s. So I think part of that played into it. Like, I can't believe I'm here already. So yeah, I don't know. Just had a moment. That moment will forever, that is a core memory I'll take to my grave. It's
That's
for
awesome.
sure. Walking down this road, post kudu kill,
Yeah.
bow in my hand. Just hell yeah.
That's truly an experience, you know?
Yep.
I think what is really awesome about that too is of how quickly and how you've got to this point of being able to get to Africa, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, the 35 years old, being able to go to Africa, being able to harvest a kudu. I think that's a lot of it too, of what just indulging in it. And what is awesome is being able to just sit back and actually realize that.
Yeah.
You know? That's truly awesome. I kind of had that same situation when we went to Texas when I shot that oryx.
Yeah.
You know, I teared up. It's like I'm in Texas hunting a scimitar oryx that I just harvested.
Yep.
Who gets to do this? You know, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy about this podcast of what we started with, you know, of how much this has grown between everybody that's listening, everybody that's supported, followed, liked, whether you didn't like us, whatever. Keep hating, man.
Hey.
Whatever.
Haters are my motivators.
But yeah, I mean, truly the growth that we've had developed in this situation to allow us to experience these awesome, truly once in a lifetime experiences. Yeah. It's been a blessing for sure.
And an eye opener.
And an eye opener, yeah. No, but yeah, or a tear jerker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, you know, one thing out of this that I could probably say you would vouch for as well is one, again, the conservation, right?
Mm-hmm.
The amount of I would say power that you have as a hunter, right?
Yeah.
The amount of power that you have to impact a culture,
to
impact, you know, the herd of an animal, Being able to go and contribute some of that, whether it's, putting in for a draw or, buying that $15 magazine when you're going and doing a application, whatever, going out and spending the time in these wildlife parks and all that, and spending this money, to help this future that we have for generations to come,
right?
And to instill this conservation,
I think that's what's cool is like, I feel like sometimes in America, our dollars don't necessarily have a direct impact into the economy that we're spending them in.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get a little siphoned to somewhere else, right? And there are instances where like maybe we support a mom and pop gas station, or maybe we support like the lodge that we eat at or something. But like generally, like all of our dollars go to Arizona Game and Fish, and we don't necessarily see that directly into the community.
Exactly.
This trip was every dime that we spent literally dropped into this ranch and into the surrounding village. Like it was very direct. And so I think that's what's so cool about it is I'm sure don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's some money that goes to the government too of South Africa.
Right.
But I would say large in part, it felt like it really was a direct drop because of the financial expenditures and the meat and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, at that point, I'd encourage you to try and look into some different places, whether it's Dallas Safari Club International, whether it's, SCI, all these other great organizations to try and, or even something local, Mule Deer, Arizona Mule Deer Organization, Arizona Elk Foundation, all these local places that can actually truly impact, and make a difference for you and your family and generations to come.
100%.
Well, it's truly been an honor to try and listen to the stories and get your feedback and input on this adventure.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for sharing with us. Once again, if you guys have any questions for Steven on this African trip, this African hunt, either he can answer it or we can find somebody that truly does know the answer for it. But we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for listening to this podcast and continuing to. Without you guys, we couldn't be doing this. We'd just be two guys just talking.
Yep.
Which we are.
Which we are. Yeah.
But thank you for listening to us, though. And we've got some more to come. We've got some elk tags coming up this year.
Ooh, let's go.
We're going to talk about Texas hunt that we did earlier this year.
Yeah. Take me to Texas on the open plains.
We got quite a few in the skew here, so stay tuned, and we look forward to you guys listening to us in the future.
Thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate all y'all. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bowhunting AZ podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast and smash those 5 stars on iTunes or Spotify and leave a little review at the bottom. It'll really help us out. For our short films, go subscribe over on YouTube. Just search Bowhunting AZ. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Bowhunting AZ. Good luck to everyone this season. Thank you again for listening. We'll catch you in the next episode.